Hey, what's up guys? Kellen from Movement Parallels Life here, and today we're gonna fix your squat. So most people think of the squat in terms of fitness. It's a great exercise, it'll get you strong, it'll help you burn fat, but what we don't look at as much is the squat is just an everyday movement or a natural movement. Now from this perspective, squatting is just something that humans are designed to do. Now, if you see kids developing, you'll see them spending a lot of time in the deep squat and having no problem with it. So why can't we do that as adults? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's because we stop squatting. We start sitting in chairs, we spend a lot of time at desks, and all of a sudden we're sending this message to the body that, hey, deep squatting, no, we're not doing that anymore. So because we don't spend a lot of time squatting, we lose the mobility, we lose that range of motion. So basically what happens then is we compensate. We create some compensation somewhere in our posture, somewhere in our alignment that allows us to do the squat even if it's not optimal. We've got to rebuild our squat pattern. We've got to reteach our body how to go into the deep squat. And if we spend the time doing that, it's going to pay off in terms of better performance and fewer injuries. So what I've got for you today is a collection of movements and drills that you can use to start rebuilding your squat. Take these movements and put them into a short routine. I'm talking about 5 to 10 minutes that you can do throughout the week to keep working on your mobility while you're working on your fitness. So I'm gonna start going through these drills right now. You're not going to need a lot of equipment. The biggest thing is that this doesn't have to be a big deal. This can be very simple. So go with what you have access to and just be consistent. So I'm starting off here in my heel lift squat. So my heel's just a few inches off the ground, and that's gonna alleviate some of the mobility demands so I can create a stronger position to do some of this mobility work. Rather than just surviving this squat position, I'm comfortable here, and that's where I'm really gonna be able to make some positive change. That means focusing in on 3 key areas. We're gonna be looking at ankles, knees, and the creases of the hips. The heel lift allows me to really focus on keeping my feet straight, and I'm also gonna sit upright. As I'm rocking forward, I'm thinking about squeezing through the ankle joint or lifting my feet off the ground. Whatever I need to do to close this joint, and that's gonna essentially help bring my weight forward over my feet so I stay balanced. Start to check in with the knees, rock your weight forward, see how this range of motion, this deep knee flexion, works for you. If you're experiencing any pain, you're gonna wanna back off a little bit. And I also want you to feel this compression in the creases of your hips. So can you actively pull down and squeeze together through the creases of your hips while sitting tall, keeping your spine upright, shoulders back? So when you really start to dial this position in, when you start to activate these key areas, you're really gonna feel it. You're gonna feel how your body needs to wake up and use a little bit of soft strength to hold this position. Now it's one thing to just kind of hang out here, resting, and really as a natural movement, the squat is a rest position. But for the sake of our mobility training, we want things to start turning on, we wanna activate, and we wanna start making these new neuromuscular connections. While you're here hanging out, be able to breathe, be able to relax to some extent. You're going to feel areas of your body starting to activate and turn on, either through your lower body or even through your back. As you feel that effort, as things start to burn, be able to get back in sync with your breathing to relax. We are teaching the body a new movement. We're trying to reclaim lost ranges of motion. So that change can only happen when the body is relaxed. If you're super tense or freaking out or holding your breath, your body's gonna be more resistant to making those changes. All right, now that you got those key points, let's take a look at some variations that you can add into your squat practice. So we're set up in a strong squat position with our heels lifted. That's allowing us to really key in on the activation of the ankles, knees, and hips. Maintain a braced core, long spine, and keep your feet rooted into the ground as you push your knees out to the sidewalls. Next, you can begin rocking back and forth from your ankles. Release some of the tension to let your weight rock back, and then bring that tension back, pulling from the ankles, lifting the toes, and bringing yourself back forward. You can challenge the strength and stability of your squat position by playing around with bringing your arms into the overhead position. Lift your arms up to frame your ears, and as you do so, make sure that you can maintain your thoracic extension, so keep your chest up and shoulders back. Next, you can start lifting and lowering your hips, gently bouncing in this squat position. This dynamic stretch will help your body recover more range of motion. Walk your feet together and come into a narrow-footed squat. Tuck yourself into a ball and then extend your spine. Keep focusing on squeezing through the creases of the hips, through the knees, and through the ankles. Start rocking forward onto the balls of your feet and then pulling back into the creases of your hips and grounding your heels. Subtly shift your weight into one foot and extend your free leg, coming into this single leg pistol squat position. Now, for most people, this position comes with a lot of spinal flexion, but when we've got the heel lift, it enables us to maintain an elongated spine and really focus in on squeezing through the hip and the ankle. Try to hold 10 to 15 seconds, 2 or 3 times on each side. Holding your squat on the balls of your feet or a deep knee bend is also a great variation to work on. The position will help strengthen and stretch the intrinsic muscles of your feet, strengthen your ankles, and also help prepare your knees for greater loading and resistance in deep flexion. Just make sure that you're not pushing into any painful ranges of motion and that you're modifying the depth to make it work for your body. You can challenge your stability in this deep knee bend by rotating from side to side or dropping your knees to touch the ground and then pulling back into the knee bend. You can start this off by just practicing on the ground, and you can increase the challenge by adding some elevation or working on a narrow surface. Our next variation is a split stance squat. This is a great way to mobilize one leg at a time. With the split squat, I find that it's a little bit easier to maintain an elongated spine and focus on the compression of the hip joint. As I set this position up, I've got the sole of my front foot grounded and I'm on the ball of the back foot. From here, I like to shift my weight forward and backward. I focus on driving the knee forward and squeezing through my ankle joint. Now, as you saw in those last few drills, the split squat is a great option for balancing, but you can also focus in on the mobility working on flat ground. In this case, I like to hold my ankle and tack it down so I can focus on driving my knee forward and encouraging dorsiflexion. Another great option is the loaded split squat. So here we're going to take a longer stance, holding a weight, lowering into the split squat and focusing on driving the knee forward. The additional weight helps me sink a little bit deeper into the range of motion and forces me to create some more activation and stability through my body. This squat routine is heavy on dorsiflexion and creating a stronger connection at the ankle. When you're feeling the burn and the fatigue in your shins, it's a good idea to counteract all that dorsiflexion with a top of the foot stretch. Work each side for 1 to 2 minutes. Over the years, I've really come to appreciate that it takes time to fix your squat. And not just time, but it takes intention and patience and creativity. And this goes for improving your mobility anywhere, for rebuilding a movement pattern, for developing a skill, or really in any kind of fitness goal that you have. You've got to take your time with it. You've got to build a foundation. You've got to be consistent, and you've got to explore, play around, and try new strategies to figure out what works best for you. Generally speaking, when people learn they've got some kind of restriction in their mobility, they want to find the right movement that's going to fix the problem as soon as possible. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You've got to spend time with these movements. You've got to try different strategies, and you've got to learn what your body responds to best. Understand that it took a long time to develop that mobility restriction, and it's going to take time to restore it. The truth is, isolated mobility exercises alone are not going to get the job done. It's just not enough volume to create lasting change. And I want you to avoid the frustration of spending all your time on these isolated exercises but not seeing results. So supplement your training by practicing your squat as a natural movement. Bring it into your everyday life, squat whenever you have an opportunity, and commit yourself to a daily practice to play and explore, and you're going to see great results organically. All right, so there you go. There's a collection of drills that you can work with to build better mobility, build a better squat position. You don't have to do all of those drills. Just pick out a few that feel best for you, that feel like they're making the most change, and be consistent. These movements aren't magic. It's all the intention that you put behind them. So make sure that you're moving mindfully, you're working to create that mind-body connection, and from there, you're gonna see progressive results. All right, so that's all I got for you today. It's time for you to go practice. Start working on some of those drills, start rebuilding your squat. Let me know how it goes, or let me know if you have any questions. Drop a comment below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for checking this one out. Thanks for moving with me. Keep on squatting. I'll see you in the next video.